You know, when V collection ended, a lot of people were really upset at the state of B's Deities. They were like, oh my god, you know, it's such a bad deck. Blau is the only deck we can play now, and it's a budget deck. Well, I'm here to introduce to you another budget deck you can certainly play. Ethics Buster Reverse. Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm H04 here. Today we are back to cover Ethics Buster Reverse. Definitely one of the most controversial and one of the least respected reverse units, and for a bloody good reason. But we still love him to death because it's just such a meme, and because it's a meme, today we have Fade of Off.
Hello. I
So-
love memes.
So today we're going to be covering Ethics Buster and his much corrupted version, which is Ethics Buster Reverse. Honestly, this deck has a few variations you can actually play Ethics Buster Reverse in, but for ours we're going to play the more faithful version, which is quite simply Ethics Buster on turn 3, Ethics Buster Reverse on turn 4, and then we just pray and hope we win from there. Yes, I know there are still many ways you can play the Beast Deity decks, especially given the fact that Beast Deities actually have a lot of great cards in their pool. A lot of great bosses too, a lot of great generics they can play here and there. So really, it is not the only way to play Beast Deities, so just understand that this is just one way we can really do it. If you don't like the choices of Beast Deities you put in here and you want to, you know, play your own deck, test it out and see which works best for you, because more likely than not, it's going to be the best option for you. Our grade 3 lineup, we play 3 copies of Deadliest, Beast Deity, Ethics Buster Reverse. Then we play 4 copies of our normal Ethics Buster, and we have tacked in 2 copies of Illuminal Dragon.
Yeah.
So let's break it down from easiest to hardest. Illuminal Dragon.
No, actually no. We should start with the big boy himself. We just start with Ethics Buster first. Everything starts from Ethics
We're
Buster.
gonna start with this ruling? Okay.
So Ethics Buster is honestly one of the best things that's happened to Beast Deities in a very, very long time. Even it may be a controversial opinion that it's a trash card, it only works on one turn, you know, but he opens up the gateway to a lot of different plays just because of this first clause. Vanguard Circle, when placed or when rolled upon, you discard 2 cards from your hand and you attack the Vanguard. In the right phase, you just attack the Vanguard, you tell him to screw off and he's grade 2, or you ping him because he's playing a Force Clan and he's grade 3 already. But we have countermeasures for that. So already attacking the Vanguard, and then he has a clause at the end depending on how the opponent reacts to this early aggression. If the opponent lets the attack hit, Ethics Buster will remain in the rested position, and until the end of turn he will lose 1 drive check. Or whichever unit rides on top of him will also gain this ability where he will remain rested and then he will only have 1 drive until the end of turn. But if the opponent decides to not let this attack pass, because they are scared or they are 5 damage, he will immediately stand and he will not lose any drive checks until the end of turn. So you can already tell that this is already a lot of very good on-hit pressure for your opponent to have to sit through and they have to deliberate, because you put one, if let's say they are 4 damage, they can either choose to just let the attack hit, you put a crit, you win, or they can choose to guard and then they only have to deal with more drive checks later on. It's a higher chance for you to pull even more triggers in the future. So Ethics Busters on place and on break right effect is what is the bread and butter of how we have built this deck, and he is definitely a very, very strong grade 3 first right turn if you can pull it off. His second ability is honestly quite underwhelming, but it's still really quite good for Beast Deities as a whole. Is that when one of your Beast Deity units attacks the opponent's Vanguard, you can counterblast 1 and that unit will gain 5k until the end of turn. So note, this ability is not once per turn. So let's say like you have a unit like Black Tortoise, or you have a unit like Eclair Dragon, or you have a unit like you use Azure Dragon and you have one and you restored one of your units. You can choose to counterblast 1 and give that unit 5k as many times as that unit attacks. So long as it goes into the attack step, you can give it 5k power and it can hit over magic number, it can hit defense over defensive. It's a very, very underrated skill, I find. But honestly, 1 counterblast is very costly, so time it well. It may actually win you the game. You never know. So you might be wondering, what is the ruling for if I write Ethics on top of Ethics Buster? So now that is the complicated ruling. So his skill will actually copy itself. So that means that you have. So that means that but that also means that the guard ability is also the the guard pressure is also copied. So if the opponent chooses to no guard it, that means that you won't get the second restand. That means you will immediately skip the second restand and it will go straight into the rest position, and you will not be able to get the second attack in. But if he chooses to guard the first attack, then Ethics Buster's ability will activate again, where you can discard 2 and then you can attack him again for the second time. So then your opponent will have to realize that he has to know that he has to guard both in order to either he has to no guard once or he has to guard twice. So that is how Ethics Buster on top of Ethics Buster works, and it will come up in the future because that is one of the win cons of this deck. But overall, Ethics Buster is the bread and butter of this deck, and he is by no means a weak card, but at the same time also he's not the number one win con of the deck. He can fail, and if you don't get a right target on top of him, he is just a dart card that gives one of your beast deities 5k power. But that's where the other grade 3 units come in. So now we can move on to the new boss unit, Deadliest Beast Deity, Ethics Buster Reverse.
Now we play Ethics Buster Reverse at a 3-off because very honestly, we find him very good as a turn 4 card. You really just don't want to be on him on turn 3 because he just isn't that fulfilling.
Yeah.
So that's why really honestly, we play a 3, and you may be wondering, but how will you guarantee on turn 4 and your Ethics on turn 3? The rest of the deck will settle that, so don't worry about it. But for now, let's actually get into Ethics Buster Reverse.
So Ethics Buster Reverse has 3 abilities, but honestly, for the 2 of them are honestly quite confusing, so I will go very slowly. When your Beast Deity unit, so the first ability is on Mega Circle. If this unit is standing, when one of your Beast Deity units attacks, lock it. Yes, so that means that basically the timing for this, okay, let's say we have Typhoon Bird. So Typhoon Bird tries to attack your opponent's Vanguard, you lock it immediately. So what does this mean? Does this mean that the attack goes through? No. It means that when it tries to attack the opponent's Vanguard, it will immediately cancel the attack and go into the lock position. So be sure to know this timing. You will not have any rearguard attacks if Ethics Buster Reverse is standing. So, and this is in line with what the text in the slides had told us, which is that only believe in your own power, because that's where Ethics Buster's second skill, Ethics Buster Reverse second skill comes in, which is that and yet when he attacks, he gains 5k power. So every single time that he enters the attack stat, he gains 5,000 power.
This is also in par with your Ethics Buster break right. So if you write Ethics Buster Reverse on top Ethics Buster, when you enter the attack stat during your right phase, Ethics Buster Reverse will be able to benefit of your predecessor's skill. Then you can still, do your drive checks and whatnot, but just know that Ethics Buster Reverse will start off as a 17k if you perform the break right correctly, and so on and so forth.
Yes, and then after that, at the end of the battle that he attacks, you may discard 1 card from your hand, and you unlock 3 of your lock rear guards and immediately retire them, and you can stand Ethics Buster Reverse, and he does not lose any drive checks on this skill. So, you may be wondering, this sounds too good to be true. I mean, you just discard 1, you kill 3 of your rear guards, and then you can immediately restand. So that means that I just get to attack the Vanguard again. Yes, you just get another free Vanguard swing for minusing 3 of your rear guards, and you only have to discard 1 card from your hand. So this is where the strength of Ethics Buster Reverse really, really comes in. Is that his restand is honestly very, very easy to accomplish, because as a beast, if you're playing Nova Grappler, you will have a lot of rear guards. You will have a very sizable board, and anything that you swing at the opponent's Vanguard, even if the attack was already gonna fail, or if the attack honestly wasn't even gonna do that much, it will cancel itself to give your Vanguard the chance to do a devastating twin drive attack. And every time it attacks, it gets 5,000 power. So, if you can do the skill more than once, if it's in the late game and you have a lot of lock cards on the board, or you're playing against Chaos Breaker and he has locked your entire field, you can convert all of your lock cards into just more fuel to increase your opponent's pain and truly reach infinite hell status for your opponent. But there is a catch, obviously, because you're trading all of your rear guard swings just to have a more and more Vanguard swings, and if you weave those drive checks, you really didn't really accomplish much other than pressure your opponent to guard. But then that is also where the third skill comes in, which is that when his attack is successful, you Soul Blast 1 Ethics Beast Deity Ethics Buster, so the original Ethics Buster, and he gets +1 drive. So you remember how I mentioned that when Ethics Busters or the unit that break rights on top of Ethics Buster, his attack is successful, he loses 1 drive check. Yeah, well, Ethics Buster reverse just says, no, I will continue to have team drive until the end of turn. If you let this attack hit, which if you break right on top of Ethics Buster, you will let the attack hit because you don't want to deal with more triple drive, more things to guard and things like that. So that is in essence what Ethics Buster Reverse is trying to accomplish. You break right on top of Ethics Buster and you try to get as many Vanguard swings as you can and make those Vanguard swings as impactful as you possibly can, either by giving him more power, getting as many drive checks as you possibly can. But more importantly, I think Ethics Buster Reverse solves the one problem that Beast Deities have had since their inception in the V series, which is board presence. So the one thing that Beast Deities has been suffering from, even back in the days of Azure Dragon and back in the days of Illumino Dragon back in BTO 6, is that if you do not have a successful board, or your board is just complete ass, or you get killed by Blade Master early on, you basically are
Blade Master?
you just get completely shut down for the entire game. You have no way to aggro. All your rear guards are hitting for minuscule numbers, and you just have nothing to really bank on in order to win. Ethics Buster Reverse changes that completely. It converts all of your wasted rear guards. So let's say you only have a couple of great ones in the back row that the opponent trying to leave behind because your opponent is smart and he knows you're playing Nova Grappler, so they whack all your rears, and now you're only left with great ones that can't even hit. Well, remember, anything that can make an attack will immediately be locked by Ethics Buster Reverse. So you can convert your great ones that can't hit or your great ones that are just really bad and weak numbers into more Vanguard swings that could potentially kill your opponent in the end. And it really does make the what was the worst case scenario for you in the past into an opportunity to win, as Reverse has always been.
The thing about Beast Deities, especially for the second wave coming in at the end of V, was that Beast Deities actually developed a very strong board swarming set of tools. They have a really good way of just pouring on Beast Deities, and then they can just keep moving. But you never really gave them power, you never really gave them multi-attack, and the multi-attacks are just doing weird timings, and they didn't really do much. Now Ethics Buster Reverse is, he's sick of seeing his sub-clans so trash, and he's like, fine, I'll do it myself. You can now just load all your Beast Deities on the field and just prepare to be eaten by the Dark Jaguar himself. So really that's how we designed this deck coming in while playing Ethics Buster Reverse. We're trying to build up for all of his strengths. I know it's a turn 4 deck, so it's pretty slow, but you do have a pretty good early game with the amount of swarming you do, and then in the late game you just turn all of the swarming into just free resources for Ethics Buster Reverse. It's not the same as Raptor Colonel, I would say, because Raptor Colonel's style of early game is a lot different, and in the late game as well, you are still reliant on your pieces to actually make things count, not just the center column. Whereas for Ethics Buster Reverse, it's just straight up, no, all of you sit down, I'm doing this. So anything you have on the board is now going to be used. It's not like Raptors or like any other rearguard, vanguard, weird destruction-based XL decks. This funny new genre we've just invented. Yeah, Ethics Buster Reverse is a lot different. So just keep that in mind when you're building a deck. You don't really need your stuff to hit. You don't really need your stuff to be threatening even, because they're never going to be. So just keep that in mind.
But let's say in the scenario that your rear guards are threatening, which is why we play the one and only Ultimate, is it? Ultra Beast Deity Illumino Dragon. So Illumino Dragon has 2 skills. Its first skill is that when your rearguard attack does not hit, you may counterblast 1, and you may stand that unit and it gains 10,000 power, and it will immediately attack the vanguard. So this basically turns any of your weak rearguard attacks that were easily 5k guard or anything, they suddenly now get additional 10k power, and they immediately start jumping at your opponent's vanguard. So any single rearguard on your board, let's say you gave it extra crit, let's say you gave it some guard, there's some weird guard restrict or whatever you play, you can make that thing attack twice. Your opponent has to guard it both times, and the second time, and if they choose to guard the first time, they have to prepare for it to come to swing at them even harder the second time, with the extra 10,000 power. But and also so that combined with, let's say, like you ride on top of Ethics Buster, you can do this. You have that additional vanguard pressure as well as the rearguard pressure for the guard, and it's honestly, if you have very good rearguards, it is a very very strong skill. Illuminal Dragon also has a second ability which is makes him one of the strongest rearguard beaters, which is that if a single attack hits on one of your units, as long as it's on the board, it gains 15,000 power once per turn. So let's say like your rearguard just hit a rearguard or anything, it gains 15,000. That's a very good magic number, very very good. So this is in the scenario that the rearguards you have a very good board, like you have a board of like Branny Papio, or you have a board of like very very strong rearguards that can actually hit for good numbers. Illuminal Dragon is your ticket to win the game from there once you ride on top of Ethics Buster.
That's also given the scenario that you're not really using reverse, because reverse doesn't really work with Illuminal, but it's more of alternate routes you could do to really get your win, because this is really the base of all your plays, and then you can just branch off into two different strategies, which is why you notice they're both not at 4, because you don't actually need both. You just need one off and whichever one that fits your scenario, and they all are beast deities, so they will all work happily together.
I mean, that's the way that we really build this deck, is to make it as flexible as possible in your win con, so that no matter what deck you fight against, you will have an out either way.
Speaking of outs, let's get back into beast deities.
Yes.
For grade 2s, we play 4 copies of Eclair. We play 4 copies of Brainy Papio, and 4 copies of Typhoon Bird. So, as you may have noticed, we don't actually play Black Tortoise. The reason why we don't play Black Tortoise is very simple. It's very costly, just for the extra swing. I get it why it works with stuff like your Ethics Buster reverse, because it is a free swing. If you call this to the back row, you can now start locking your back row. But for the amount of cost you're putting out, this is just not.
And then compared to Eclair, it doesn't actually gain any power. So it has to be on the Excel circle to swing if you're going second.
So let's actually talk about Eclair first.
Yeah. So Eclair is very simple. Is that during the mid is that when he's placed on the rearguard circle, you may counterblast 1, and then
if you grade 3 or greater beast deity Vanguard,
it gains 3,000 power, and it will immediately attack your opponent's Vanguard. And if the attack did not hit, you stand it.
So it's just a clearly superior version of Black Tortoise, which you may say, why not just play 4 of Eclair and 4 of Black Tortoise? Because you don't need to. It's really overkill. It really is leaning into the wrong side of Ethics Buster Reverse, which is too costly, too piece reliant, and you just fall over and die. We wanted to maintain that level, because it's still pretty good to have extra attackers from the back row. But at the same time, it's also kind of useless if we just make everything into swinging over-costed vanillas. So Eclair can really fill in this slot and stay at that.
Yeah, I mean, if you need clarification, the reason why main phase attackers are so good in Ethics Buster Reverse now is because the locking skill for Ethics Buster Reverse is only when he is in the stand position. So if you break right Ethics Buster Reverse on top of Ethics Buster, and the attack hit, he will be in the rest position. So any attack that occurs during the main phase while Ethics Buster is still resting after his first attack will not be locked. So that's how you can still get your rearguard attacks in while Ethics Buster is locked, and then still pressure with your rearguards while waiting for Ethics Buster to fully charge back up and then finish your opponent from there.
Moving on to other grade 2s, we play 4 copies of our Typhoon Bird. Typhoon Bird is really simple yet really good. On the Vanguard circle or Rearguard circle, if you have a Beast Deity Vanguard, you just counterblast 1, look at the top 5, superior call a non-grade 2 Beast Deity as rest. It's a free +1. It's a completely free +1. I mean, it's CB1. You can do this infinitely and just pour. This is one of the best.
So it's a once per turn.
Once per turn. Yeah. It's the best swarming tool, because you can just pour it out. Yeah, it counts as rest, but we want it as rest. Yeah, because we can actually stand our stuff. So it's just really good card altogether. And
the more rested targets that we stand, we actually gain some benefits from that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So moving on from Typhoon Bird, we have one of the more intellectual ones.
Yes.
And in the words of the great Machina Blau, if you want to be monkey, but a thinking man's monkey, we have Brainy Papio. Brainy Papio has two skills. If you discard him,
for the cost of one of your skills, you may call him as rest to one of your rearguard circles. So,
yay, we have a discard fodder.
Finally, we have a discard fodder. So Ethics Buster finally won't make you go -2. You can actually convert your minus into more brain power. But I think mainly the reason why I saw him so interesting was because of his second skill. Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, when your Vanguard attack hits, you may count +1, so +1 to draw one card and call a grade 2 or less Beast Deity from your hand to the Rearguard Circle. It gains 10,000 power, and at the end of the turn, you bounce it back to hand. So, the slide didn't lie to us. This is definitely a very, very, very threatening on-play skill attack hit skill for your Vanguard. So long as you discard this card and you call it the Rearguard Circle, when the Ethics Buster goes in to attack in the right phase, you automatically already +2. Plus, you can +2 from this skill. You can also call a Rearguard and make it hit matching numbers. Let's say you call Eclair. Eclair can then immediately go into its skill, or you can call any Rearguard that can then convert it into a very strong attacker later on. So this is what we mean by the amount of board swarming that Beast Deities can now do is even heightened thanks to this support wave. And also it pressures your opponent to guard even more, which is only good for us because we want more drive checks, and if they don't give us the drive checks, we can just call more units, and then we can even get those units back to hand in the end, so it's not even a minus.
Yep.
Yes.
Moving on from our grade 2s, we can cover this even faster now.
Yes.
We play 4 copies of Extreme Battler Arashi, 4 copies of Lift Taurus, and 4 copies of Vermilion Bird, or Scarlet Bird, depending on where you're at.
Yes.
Go through this real quickly. Arashi is our grade 3 searcher. His condition to gain 5,000 power is if a unit has stood this turn via card effect.
Yes.
Very simple, very simple.
Yeah, I mean, because we want our grade 3s, so it is very important that we play Arashi. Speaking of searching for grade 3s, we have Lift Taurus. So Lift Taurus has a rearguard skill is that when he is placed, you may stand one of your Beast Deity units. Yeah, it's just that. It's free. It's completely free. If you get it off a Typhoon Bird, he can even stand himself, or you can stand anything that you want. His Rearguard Circle skill, his other skill is that Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, when your Vanguard attack hits, so either his attack or the attack of your other Vanguard, and it's on Rearguard Circle, you may look at the top 5 cards of your deck, add 1 grade 3 Beast Deity from among them to hand, shuffle the deck, and if he's on Rearguard Circle, you put him into Soul. So, it's a free +1, you don't have to discard for the grade 3 search, and then he also pluses you 1 Soul, which will be very important when we get to the next card. But overall, Lift Taurus is a must play for Beast Deity. It's the most free standing that we have, as well as also a free search for us if the Vanguard attack hits. So there's even more guard pressure for the opponent. And finally, we move on to the final piece of the puzzle, which is Beast Deity Vermilion Bird. So Vermilion Bird is very simple. On place, so you soul blast 1, you stand your entire board. I mean, of course, yeah, this is the main phase skill. You're not expecting this to be like Lambro, so you can restand the whole board in the battle phase. No. This is just you call it in the main phase and you just stand everything. Then everything is good. So let's say your Vanguard is rested because the opponent that they attack hit, you can stand it. Your Rearguard is rested because it caught from Typhoon Bird, you stand it. But his second ability is that if you stood 2 or more units, use this card ability, and you have a Beast Deity White Tiger, so the iconic starter for Beast Deities. In your soul, you draw 1. So this is what we mean by the fact that we want our stuff to come out as rested, because we want to hit the quota for that extra +1. Because this deck doesn't really plus that much. It pluses in the fact that it gets rear guards, but it doesn't plus straight to hand. So anything that helps us plus to hand is very welcome in our book, and that is what makes this card a must play for Beast Deities. It is what you should strive for every single turn to get that +1 off. You might be wondering, we do not actually play the new grade 1 that came in this package, which is Beast Deity Max Beat. His art is very amazing, but honestly his skill is very underwhelming. Is that he just lets you, when placed, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, you add 1 grade 2 or greater Beast Deity from one to hand, you put the rest to bottom. So it is a +1. Oh yeah, then also if you actually got a card from this ability and it's on the Rearguard Circle, you then rest it immediately. So it is a good +1, but because top 3 is honestly very limiting, and none of our triggers are Beast Deity, so you might cause completely whiff, and then you may just lose 3 triggers to the bottom of the deck. And he doesn't really add much besides that free plus. And other than that, he is a very underwhelming unit, and we have much better grade 1s to play, like Arashi and things like Typhoon Bird that help us plus as well. So it's alright that we don't have to play.
Our grade 0s, real quick, we play our White Tiger starter. We play 4 Heal Guards because we actually do want to go into turn 4, but at the same time, we actually prefer to stay alive during the early game, and then during the late game, we can start to bargain more with the opponent.
Yes.
We play 4 draw PGs because, and then we play 8 crits because center column. let's turn it up with crits.
Yes.
And that will wrap it up for our Ethics Buster reverse.
Yeah, this was a very long.
This was a very long one,
explanation. It can't be- it just- I mean, deservingly so, because this card is not a very easy card to explain, and it has a lot of different applications for a deck as flexible and as rich of a history as Beast Deities in the V format.
And unlike Revengers, which also had a very confusing reverse boss, the main deck was actually really simple to go through because it's quite simple and straightforward as to what you play. Whereas for Beast Deities, because they've been a very old archetype in V as well, so you really have a lot of options to sit down and sift through to see what's actually worth it and what's not. How can I play this deck? How do I not? Thank you all so much for watching. As you still know, we are still continuing on our streak for V series decks. So if you want to see a deck, leave it in the comment section below. If we can cover it, we will. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
Bye bye.